Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this special meeting of North Kawartha Council. This is our first budget meeting for the budget deliberations for our 2026 budget. It's December 10th on this lovely snowy snow day for most people, but not for us. We still had to come in and have our meeting. Welcome to the folks that are here in the gallery and welcome to those folks that are online. And just a reminder, our meetings are recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel. So just be aware, anything you say, any comments or opinions that are expressed will be recorded and available for the public to hear. And before we get into the budget business, council would like to acknowledge that we meet on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, in particular our neighbors from Kawartha Anishinaabe and Kirk Lake First Nation. We recognize and honor the original people of this place we call North Kawartha. As duly elected representatives, we follow this Indigenous practice of acknowledgement to foster respectful deliberations, thoughtful collaboration, and wise decision-making in our service to this community. Okay, and pecuniary interest. Does any member have a pecuniary interest with any of the matters before us? Seeing none, I'm going to move on. And adoption of the agenda. I just wanted to make a note with, if council's okay, I'd like to pull items 1A and B and have that discussion first before we get into Judy's presentation. Just those updates. So with that, can I have adoption of the agenda, please? Moved by Ruth Ann, seconded by Jim Whalen. All those in favor? The agenda has been adopted. And like I said, we're going to go down to the business items. And first one is the Crow Valley letter with the 2026 draft budget attachment. And Alana, you can go ahead.
I can begin with this. So you have attached the letter from the interim general manager, Lisa Donald, from the 2026 draft budget from Crow Valley Conservation Authority. They are stating that as a percentage, it represents an increase of 2.07%. And the amount is of the levy would be 100,652.24. We brought it on this agenda because it is related to the budget, and also Crow Valley would like any of the council's comments or feedback to go back to them as soon as possible, I believe, for their January meeting.
Okay. All right, do you need a motion from us for this to receive it?
I think you could receive it if you have no comments.
I don't see anybody with comments.
There's no, especially with the announcement from the province, there's no significant capital investment here.
Yeah,
But we do need to make sure that we've got vehicles that work and are able to pay the staff. So it's a minimal.
It's a bare bones
increase. Yeah.
Yeah, bare bones budget.
You want to be able to do both, though?
Come on, heck. Okay, then can I have a motion then to receive that? Moved by Ruth Ann, seconded by Colin. All those in favor? That's been received. And then the other item is OPP detachment board budget. Or do you want me to do it? I'll let you do it. You got it.
I'll start.
Yeah.
You can, jump in.
Mhm.
So with the creation of the joint Peterborough OPP detachment board, the county graciously took on the role of having a support person to sort of coordinate all that and take the minutes and act as a central hub. And all the CAOs are unanimously agree that this is working out very, very well. And the costs, so I did include the costs of where we were back when we had the police services board budget. At the beginning of 2025, we used approximately 10,000, which was kind of a combination of what we were paying to support our own police service board, what we thought the future might be. Later in the year, the requisition did come for 2025 in the amount of $7,138. That requisition, they have found that there will be a slight refund, perhaps up to $2,500 from that returning to the municipality. So that will be by year end and would go into the 2024 or 2025 year, pardon me. The amount that they are asking for 2026 is $4,996.50. Oh, no, sorry. $5,865.86. With the return of the $2,500 this year, they are putting an amount of almost $5,000 into a reserve. And reviewing that, I think it's quite reasonable amount for the services that we're getting. And I know that not all of the board members have been appointed to the board as yet. And once everyone is in and the board really starts to do work, we may see an increase next year, I think, when they determine, you know, what their roles and projects will be. But for the ask this year is the amount of $58.65. And sorry, and lastly, I did include a motion. Each council who's a member municipality needs to approve the detachment board budget. So I have the motion here, if council's willing to do that.
Perfect. Yeah, just a couple of things. And as you know, at our last meeting, we had the motion to approve the committee, or pardon me, the community appointees. So, and we're still waiting on the provincial, we have one provincial appointee, still waiting for the two others. We got sweeping change at the ministry level to have the oath of office amended, that First Nations that would be comfortable swearing to. And we have already sworn in Chief Carr from Hiawatha, and Deputy Chief Jacobs from Curve Lake will be sworn in at probably in the January meeting. So there's a couple of things there. Obviously, when we get these new members on board, this amount is gonna fluctuate, but right now, I mean, it's very low, it's very reasonable. It may go up a bit, but overall, it has worked out very well. I think we're very fortunate to be able to partner with the county on this, and Emmanuel is awesome as the board administrator. Yeah, I totally support, you know, what they've put forward, and I would look for a motion to approve the recommendation for that amount. Moved by Jim Whalen, seconded by.
Second with comment.
Mhm.
It wouldn't be a huge financial difference, but when I see things like this, I often think that this should be done based on the population of these communities. Because if there's groups that are 2-3 times the size, then our ratepayers are paying 2-3 times the amount of somebody in that for an equivalent service from the board.
Yeah, the legislation is pretty prescriptive on this,
Oh,
and we had some back and forth about that because that was exactly what I brought up.
Okay.
And then there was no way you were gonna be getting agreement from the member municipalities on it. This was the simplest, and I get it. It doesn't, technically, it's not fair, but at the end of the day,
In reality.
it's reality,
Yeah.
exactly, right? So, anyway, maybe at some point in the future, there'll be some changes. Go ahead.
Doesn't someone have, Peterborough Police?
Lakefield has,
Just Lakefield?
Lakefield, yes.
So part of Selwyn has that, so it balances out a little better.
But anyways, yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, it was discussed, but I mean, this is what we have, this is what we gotta do. So, anyway, with that, motion on the floor, duly seconded, all those in favor? That's approved. All right, and now we will turn it over to Judy and Alana and the whole financial team, to present the first draft of the 2026 budget for North Kawartha. Good morning, welcome, please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. So I will be walking through the presentation, but first I would just like to thank all of the managers, the finance team and staff for working really hard on this budget. I know it's difficult to see high numbers coming through the budget. But hopefully as we go through, you'll get maybe a little bit of an understanding where the numbers are coming from, and we'll see where our discussion ends up at the end of the day. So for the budget process, as council's aware, the township managers provide a list of capital items for the departments to the treasurer. The leadership team have a meeting and they discuss the capital items and consensus on which items will be recommended to council and included in the 2026 draft budget. Department managers presented their capital forecast to council October 29th, and council directed staff on which items to include in the first draft, and they are included in this budget. I should let Judy speak to her slide.
We love the way.
This is a really good visual demonstration of, our goals at the bottom with what we are trying to achieve, providing quality services at an affordable price while planning to have a sustainable future. So the next few slides are considerations in the budget process. The cost of products and services remains inflated, as everyone knows. Delivery dates for many products are delayed. Heavy vehicles, which were available either from a lot or within a year, are now forecasted up to 2-year delivery dates. There are a few remaining projects that are carried over due to lack of satisfactory bids, workload, and other resources. Training on new legislation and best practices is more important than ever with all these changes coming so quickly, and this does increase our training and related costs. This is a big point too. A review of the Assessment Act and MPAC new assessment phase and period timeline is still unknown. They're still working on their revisions to the act and to what their new assessment process will be. And we really haven't had those assessments updated since 2016. That's almost coming up to 10 years.
A decade.
Yeah. So while the 2016 values did have a 4-year phase in, that's still 6 years without any changes, except for supplementals where people have built a garage or something like that. Across the province, increases in the price of goods and services not only impact households, but the municipality as well. Townships facing higher material and product costs, hydro costs, service costs, such as police services, which we talked about the requisition, but not the OPP contract yet, and little assessment growth. In 2026, the township will receive $1,387,800 in OMPF funding. I'm grateful for that amount. Council adopted the current assessment management plan in July of 2022 and chose financing strategy 3. It was updated in the fall of 2025, pending a more thorough review and update in 26. The transfer amount to future capital reserves for 2026 will be $406,376. And we are reducing that by $21,076 to fund the 2026 capital items, which leaves the remaining balance of $385,300. We did just discuss the Crow Valley Conservation Authority draft budget, and that's a minimal 2.07% increase. And staff complete their budgets according to the known revenues and expenses. We don't guess, we don't do the what ifs. If we don't know the number, we look at previous year's history, any process changes, anything that we know might be a trend or might change. A multi-year contract also gives us future prices and any other anticipated influences. The next considerations are primarily related to the salaries, which is for a municipality, the largest section of the budget. A normal progression on the salary grid has been calculated at a 3% COLA increase for staff, council, and committee members. The average proposed 2026 COLA on salaries in the surrounding municipalities is 2.9%, and those range from 1.9 to 4.5. Last year, the average was 2.93, ranging from 2.5 to 4. While the municipality opted for the salary grid to be in the 50th percentile, some neighboring municipalities have increased their salary grids to the 60th.
It's cool.
At the direction of council, a new position of full-time deputy chief administrative officer has been included with a period of 10 months. This is a full-time position, but anticipating that by the time the recruitment process takes place, there would be 10 months salary in the next year. The other recommendations stemming from the organizational review include a full-time IT specialist, again looking at a 10-month for this budget, starting on March 1st. A new part-time administrative assistant in the Parks and Recreation Department. 2 positions revised to include supervisor responsibilities. And in the planning salaries, I did just want to note that you'll see there are salaries in the planning department, and those are made up of 10% of the CBO's wages and 50% of the building and planning assistant's wages. We'll get into that more in the planning section. We also enhanced the winter patrol person to include equipment operator responsibilities. So that took that position from being part-time to full-time, although it's still contract for the season. Full-time equivalent FTE adjustments, in the park and recreation, we had one, new full-time park and rec labor, which moved from a part-time. And other areas, we have increased hours and waste due to the IC&I collections. So, that is to do with the recycling and the fact that we're going to be having that additional task of collecting from the IC&I participants that don't get the curbside pickup. And the need to really keep that separate from the rest of the meeting. Increased volunteer wages due to the requirement of more hours to accommodate the increased number of calls in the fire department. And then briefly, the next slide goes over the Summer Canada job positions that are currently included. So for roads, we're looking at 2 summer positions. 1 summer position shared. This is a new idea that actually Matt Alden brought forward. The idea of sharing a summer student to cover things like vacation and some of the administrative needs that were brought up in the organizational review as well. So this person would float between clerks, finance, building, and public works. 2 swim instructors, which we normally apply for, and 1 labor in parks and recreation, which we usually have that extra in to help out with watering flowers and other items. And the full 12-month impact of the fire prevention inspector position. So if council recalls, last year, we budgeted to start that position in June, so there were only 6 months of the salary. Now that full year is hitting into the budget. To accompany the salary position changes, other items are included throughout the budget, which include laptops, monitors, phones, hardware, software, PPE, training. And that will be different in each department, but it is whenever there are new positions, you incur some of those additional expenses. And just to note that for the for the summer positions, we always include the full amount in the budget, but then we do hope to get some funding from the Summer Canada jobs. And I believe last year we were only successful in getting 1 swim position.
I think it was 2.
Or 2.
1 the year before.
1 the year before and 2 swim positions.
Out of all the positions?
Out of all that we have.
We got 6 here. Okay, all right, fingers crossed.
So that's why we usually budget the full amount.
Okay. Get you.
Yeah, and add to that, when we do get the grant, it's not 100% of the wages, it's only part.
What is it? Actually, is it 50?
I think it's 50%, but it's not necessarily, they'll say, this is how much you're getting.
Oh,
So you can't count on.
you just, yeah, there's not an actual, okay. You get what you get, if you get it.
Yes.
And I
They might cut
believe-
down the weeks or something, right? So.
And I believe that we're in a different area this year, so we don't know if that will make a difference.
Okay.
Okay, so further notes, council has the option to use funds from general reserves to fund unexpected items or new projects that do come up during the year. That goes back to we don't budget for the what ifs. Things do happen through the year that we have to look at how we're gonna fund. Every $70,884 added to the budget is equivalent to a 1% increase in the dollar to dollar 2026 over 2025. Carry forwards may transpire to lower the budget to budget increase. This will depend on analysis of the anticipated year-end surplus deficit to be performed prior to the passing of the 2026 budget. And I guess on that note, I can say that we understand that this is coming in high at the moment and we want to do everything we can to lower it. And we're not anticipating that we'll be able to approve everything today, but that's one of the areas that we'll look at to help bring that number down a bit. The current draft budget indicates an increase in dollar to dollar. This was 10.32%. Unfortunately, we're at 10.51% because we did miss one number. This would have resulted in the $38.71 per year increase in taxes on every $100,000 worth of assessment to the ratepayer.
How much was it?
Included in the 2026 budget, the committee remuneration includes 3 library board members, 1 CIP committee member, 3 short-term rental committee members, 3 comprehensive zoning bylaw members, and we have another item to do with the comprehensive zoning bylaw in the not included. Council expenses, 12,500. So previously we had it broken out. Council has had a few discussions on council expenses and whether you just want to have it as one pot that you draw from, or whether you want to deviate from those allocations. But the amount in there is currently the 12,500.
Can I ask just on that, the pot isn't completely empty, is it? At this point? I don't think so. I mean, I'm the one that's drawn out of everybody. Right? But it's still,
It's not
Okay.
completely empty.
so the idea like maybe that amount is still sufficient, it's just, whether we
It's
worry about the allocations or not, right?
It's close.
Is it close? Okay, I haven't submitted my last. Wait for it, okay. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. This is the kind of discussion we do want to generate. It includes an increase of 5% in hydro costs and insurance. So we don't necessarily know all the hydro costs as yet, but that is what we've included. $15,000 for surveys of municipal properties, and I know on the property tour that council did, there was discussion on getting Fire Station 3, a survey for that property. So that could be part of that 15,000. And our goal there is that each year, if we budget a bit for the surveys, we should eventually have a survey for all the properties that we own that we may want to do something with. Not all the properties we own, as we get a lot of little parcels sometimes. Items not included in the 2026 budget include that due to not receiving the Housing Affordability Fund 2 grant, there's no dollars to facilitate affordable housing. Expenses for any future grant programs or applications. For example, if someone applies to the aquatic invasive species, we haven't guessed at how many grants there might be for any of those programs. Facade at the 135 Burley Street, which has been brought up a few times. Sufficient dollars for consultant to review the comprehensive zoning bylaw. Potential shared costs with the county participants. So, as council is aware, the county was going to put out an RFP to see if we could go jointly to hire someone to look at the comprehensive zoning bylaw. But currently we still have the advisory committee in place. Although I think there are some members who've withdrawn. So we can maybe talk about a little direction on that.
Sure.
Yeah, just on that, I spoke to Sharon, last Wednesday and, I said, listen, where are we? Are we getting this done or aren't we? And she said, it's coming right up.
There's 4 municipalities in total
4 minutes.
that are, so North Porth, Durham, Dunmore, Havelock, Belmont, and Asphodel, Norwood. And Sheridan was just waiting on one municipality to get some info back, so it is coming, so.
It's in.
Yeah,
The
yeah, it is.
last municipality.
I made a phone call, it came in. Go ahead.
And is it still worth putting all this effort into it before the province actually approves the thing?
I feel like at the rate we're going, the timing is gonna be such that it's it'll be good, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're supposed to be getting our OP before year end, I don't know, right? Like, it's supposed to be imminent.
Yeah.
But, I mean, by the time we get things sort of fired up with this, like, it should be right in line. And there's also work that can be done prior to, like, even just like working on definitions for crying out loud, right? That kind of thing, so I don't think we're getting ahead at all, really.
No, we're
Yeah,
behind.
and my understanding is that the planning staff at the county are working very closely with the ministry. And they anticipate a few more meetings and hopefully send it back to the minister.
Here's hoping.
And the reason I say sufficient dollars here is that I do have dollars in the planning budget under the consultant category. But I'm not sure, will this be 10,000 or 50,000? So that's why I'm just noting it here. It may not be what we have. We also have 2 consultants doing planning right now, so just wanted to make that note. Other items not included in the 26 draft budget include the cost for the recreation and open space master plan, as it was determined that that would be completed in-house. And I have received questions about the municipal office parking lot, and that is not included. We did get some designs, but that is not included as well. So just wanted to really be clear on what is and what isn't on a major level. Okay. So, I don't know if you want to comment on this slide, but this shows the 10.32% increase. And it shows the budget to budget variance and increases for each department. We'll get into that in the presentations. And next one. Oh, sorry. Next slide. Oh,
That is.
there we go. So this is where we're starting with our presentations from staff. So I don't know if Judy has any other comments or if we want to go directly into the presentations.
So that last slide was just basically a Judy touch.
Yeah.
Probably used to. So yes, the draft budget, we're showing 10.32. Yesterday, we realized there was some a cell in one of our spreadsheets that was calculating wrong, and so that's why we're adding, I think it was 14,000. And I'm sorry, but now it's 10.51 where we're starting today.
You found that needle in the haystack?
Unfortunately, if we still went with the 10.23, one of our employees would only be paid for 10 months of the year instead of 12, so.
Glad you found
I
that.
think, yes.
And maybe we'll circle back to this later, but I did put this on the board. So we are starting in a 10.51 increase dollar to dollar. 1.45% of that is the OPP contract, which we have no control over. And that was capped this year at 11%. So even hopefully they'll keep that cap in the following year. And all of the staff changes that were discussed and talked about between council and or the organizational review are 3.78% of that figure, which brings us to a 5.23% when you're looking really budget to budget on day-to-day items. But saying that it's still the ratepayer that will get the total 10.51% dollar to dollar or budget to budget impact on the tax rate. So.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, you mentioned tax rate, so if I can just mention that right now, I know we usually wait till the end of the meeting, but how it sits right now. It would show a 9.64% increase in the tax rate, which is $39.51 on an annual basis on $100,000. So I did a calculation for the average assessment instead of just the 100,000, and that would be monthly base or well, annual of 197. Sorry, I'm going the wrong way here. 169.03, which is a monthly amount of 1409. So the average assessment is $427,810. So that's the average. The average increase where we're sitting right now, 169.03 a year, 14.09 a month. I can calculate per day if you want,
Oh, no,
just to let you know where we're starting.
yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, and it's a little more, I think, people understand that a little bit more when you give that bigger amount, like the average. Like 100,000 thing, I mean, I get it, but
Yeah, 100,000 doesn't mean anything.
not anymore. It did once upon a
If you
time.
say it's 400 and something, you know,
Then it's
so
400.
it's between 4 and 5.
Yeah.
So it's between your figure and the $200.
Exactly.
Pretty sure.
Yep.
It is.
All right. Any questions or comments on that, or you want to start getting into the
I
presentations?
think we better get into the cuts.
Where's your big scissors? Okay, so why don't we do that then? Why don't we just get right into our individual department presentations and you can start asking the questions. Save the cuts till the end, Jim. Okay, so well, thank you for that presentation, good, you know what we're working with. And we have up first is Gary Giraldi joining us virtually, keeping his germs away from us, thank you very much, we appreciate that. Please go ahead,
I
Gary.
don't know.
Good morning, Madam Mayor and Council. Firstly, I'd like to apologize. Yes, you're right. Woke up at 4:30 this morning with a head cold. The snow had nothing to do with it. I was ready to come and first time in my career I've done this budget virtually, so I'm not real comfortable with it. I don't like it, so please bear with me. I'd rather share my germs, to be honest. We'll start with the Parks and Rec budget. And as already reviewed with the Parks and Rec budget, it's also a first in my career where I've presented a 9.6% increase. Never done that before. Sure, I'm uncomfortable with it, but at the same time, growth dictates this. It's unfortunate. In reviewing everything, there's very little, there's only a couple of counts that have had a 10% increase or decrease. So there's only a couple of counts with a 10% difference. The majority of the budget here, the difference is based in the wages that we had spoke about. And then there's a little bit in heat and hydro, but that's about it. So first off, in the revenue, there is a budget information paper for sports registration. It is the only revenue account that is going to have a difference of greater than 10% or $1,500 in 2026. And this is actually, we are projecting an increase. As you know, we have started some new programs focused on revamping some other programs, and we've enjoyed a little bit of an increase in revenue as a result. So we are recommending that we increase our 2026 sports revenue target from $16,000 to $18,000. And really, in revenue, that is the only difference when it comes to anything, greater than 10%. Like I say, everything else is on target. Is there any questions pertaining to that?
No, I don't think so.
So if we want to move into expenses, again, other than the under threshold accounts, which I always report, the only other account in expenses that we are projecting an increase or a decrease of greater than 10% is the cleaning and minor maintenance supplies. And again, before you have a budget information paper. We are projecting an increase of exactly actually 10%, $2,200 in 2026. This figure, again, comprised of reviewing all of our expenses this year. And a big part of this comes back to, I know you always hear it from me, but is the water system. So everything from water softener, salt, and the water disinfection supplies, filters, regular maintenance, sort of comes under this account, as well as all our other cleaning supplies that we use as well too, and minor maintenance. So we are projecting an increase in this account to $24,200 in 2026 from $22,000. Other than that, we move into the under threshold accounts. And like I say, I always like to try to report the under threshold accounts because they change from year to year. The first one that you have before you is the under threshold building account. We are recommending a reduction in this account for 2026. It'll be a $2,600 reduction. And in 2026, and so everybody knows, and I'm sure you're all familiar that the under threshold account is this account is planned maintenance and building items where the repair is planned to be less than $5,000. Hence an under threshold as far as compared to capital. So in 2026, in this account, we have some arena surface maintenance on our boards and glass that we want to do again, and that's $2,350. There is a NKCC generator update that we want to get completed, which is $2,000, $1,987. And then there's some plumbing distribution disinfection upgrades in reference to our recent membranes and everything that we did that you'll get in my activity report. There is another change that we want to make in 2026, and this will affect the water going over to the refrigeration plant. So that's $4,000. And then I want to repair some of the Wilson Park Community Center exterior facility doors, and their frames. Those are all original. They're approximately 30 years old, and they need some maintenance. And that was budgeted at $4,000 for 2026. So that comes to a total of $14,950, and that's what it's included in the under threshold building account for 2026. And the last,
Hang on just
Sorry?
1 second here.
Just because 10.51 isn't high enough. When it comes to under threshold building, one thing at the community center that's been brought to my attention by a couple of different ratepayers, the heated line that's been running over what I would consider the emergency exit smoker's door.
That's already that's being repaired right now, Councilor
Okay.
McClellan.
Fantastic.
It's actually, we had to custom order new cable. It was to arrive, what day today? Well, it was to arrive today. So we do have the other ones in there, but it will be in place. Even though we're getting snow now, it will be in place for the winter.
We can stick with 10.51 for now then.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. Thank you for asking. Under threshold equipment budget. So again, same idea. Rather than building, this is equipment. We are once again, as you can see here, trying to reduce everywhere I possibly can. So we are again projecting a reduction in this budget for 2026 from $10,100 down to $6,200. Excuse me. The equipment, again, this included in this budget for 2026. We have some tools that we need to update. It came to $1,850. We've got a floor machine repair. We do have a new floor machine in the capital forecast. They're very expensive. We have a repair, a fairly decent one that we want to do. It's actually on 2 machines, and they'll extend the life of these machines. It's $1,500. We need to get our lift. Many people refer to them as a scissor lift or a genie lift. Ours isn't actually a scissor lift. It goes straight up. It doesn't work on a scissor mechanism, but you have to have those certified. We need to get ours recertified next year, and that's going to be $2,100. And that includes a couple of minor repairs if that needs to be done. And there's also a couple of small pieces of landscaping equipment that we need to update for $750. So that comes to $6,200 for 2026. So other than that, that's the Parks and Rec budget. Again, there's really not a lot of changes. The main changes, of course, was to bring our staffing complement, and not just the complement, but really just sort of the positions as per the organization review up to date. We've had a lot of growth over the years, and unfortunately, we've worked with what we've had, and it's just starting to catch up to us. So that update is very much looking forward to. Questions? Sorry for my voice.
That's okay, no worries, take your time. No, I don't see any. If you want to just go on to waste, go ahead.
Okay, my apologies. Waste is next.
Mhm.
Not that I tried to match them, but the waste has a 9.7% increase. Again, uh, yeah, I won't tell you how much I'm uncomfortable with this, but it is what it is. So with waste, there very, again, not a lot of changes in this budget. The composter revenue, there's a change in that. And the reason is because in the past, when we did the food cycler program in the past, we paid for all the food cyclers up front. We had them shipped to the community center. And if you recall, I went over this recently in a report. And then we sold the food cyclers. We collected the money, to offset the cost that we paid. So that money that we collected to offset the cost that we paid was posted to the composter revenue account. Well, now, of course, it's a much better, streamlined, more efficient way of doing business where our residents are able to order them online directly, and the only invoice we get from Food Science is for the municipal contribution to the pilot program plus the shipping costs. So that will be recorded later on in expenses. And therefore we don't have to, do all the collection and return. So you won't see any revenue. But then of course the expense account is lower as well too. So it's an in and out. But that is why the composter revenues is lowered in 2026. So what you have in there is just, we roughly sell about 3 backyard composters a year, and that's what's included again in the 2026 budget. I didn't even read the BIP, but that's what it is. And then the other one is miscellaneous. Now, we could be fortunate and we could collect more scrap metal next year and scrap metal prices could go up again. But, there's a few other revenue things that we collect in this account, but it is really based upon, scrap metal. Not just the price of scrap metal, but the volume of scrap metal. So obviously, the more scrap metal we collect, as you know, we're the only municipality in Peterborough County that does not charge to bring scrap metal into a transfer station. All other municipalities charge the residents a tipping fee for scrap metal, like they do all their other garbage or C&D. We do not, because the money we make off the scrap metal offsets our cost of the bin and the transportation, and we make a few bucks. That being said, it also, in my opinion, helps to reduce the number of these scrap metal bins that you see, throughout the county and other municipalities. You see them a lot in a few other municipalities. I won't mention the names, again, because they have to pay for that and they'll drop it off on the way to their depot, so they don't have to pay for it. Whereas with us, it's convenient. People can bring it to us for free, so they just bring it in and it's convenient and it doesn't, we don't have the need for all these side of the road bins, which are becoming a real pet peeve for the Ministry of Environment, by the way. So again, this account does fluctuate. We are anticipating, based upon our volumes in 2025, we are estimating a decrease in 2026, but I could be very much wrong. Maybe the ice storm affected that. in 2025. Maybe those numbers will go back up again. But as it stands now, it also includes, we get a little bit of money for waste electronics as well. So it does include and our special collection weekends, but it does include we are projecting a $5,000 reduction in revenue in this account in 2026.
Gary,
Oh,
can I
really?
ask you
Sorry.
something? Can I just
Yeah.
ask you something? Triggered it in my head, but sort of related. But anyway, you talked about the special collection weekend. And we do that in partnership with the county. I'm just wondering, because of the changes with the recycling, like, do you have any idea how that's gonna look next year? Cause I'm thinking about all the big, large plastic items that we would bring in for recycling, or people that would bring. Like, how is that being impacted? Like, how does that work now with producer responsibility?
So, I'm going to be honest, it's not even really been on the table yet with the county because of us trying to get through the rest
Yeah.
of this. That being said, I don't really see it changing a lot because the big part of our special collection weekend is the mattresses, the couches, the furniture. And that's really what people are looking forward to get rid of. We do that twice a year now. And we
Yeah.
do have residents that will get a new mattress and they'll hold on to the mattress until our weekend, or a couch or a chair. As far as the recycling, the way I look at it is if we've got the additional IC&I bins, worst case scenario, if they don't want to take the large stuff, we could take it in the IC&I bins. So, I mean, yeah, we would like to put it in their bins, so, there's no cost. But worst case scenario, it could go into the IC&I bins and we'd pay $85 a ton, which really, that's 2,000 pounds. That's a lot of large plastic, in order to create 2,000 pounds. So there is workarounds. And that, I'm sure will be discussed, come January once we get the new contracts under the way.
Okay, yeah, no, sorry, it just triggered in my mind, so I wanted to ask you about that, but we'll deal with that later. Thanks.
No, thank you. So that's basically, those two accounts are really the only two accounts that are affecting the revenue in 2026. His again, the composter though, it's really us offset by the expense because the expense is just less, down below for the food cyclers, because we're not billed for them all up front. And then the only other one, like I say, is the miscellaneous revenue. So other than that, that's the only changes in the revenue for 2026. And then as far as the expenses are concerned, the two big things that are affecting expenses in 2026 is we've increased the wages as Alan alluded to, so it's about 500 hours. So, I calculate every single hour of what's needed in the transfer stations. So we have a winter hours schedule, we have a summer hours schedule. In the winter, we're open 6 days a week. In the summer, we're open 7 days a week. We calculate it right down to the hour when we need two people in the site, when we need one people in the site. So we added approximately, well, I can tell you, not even approximate. We added 508 hours to the budget for 2026, enabling us to have two people in the sites at all times. Yep, exactly 508 hours. So we have two people in the sites at all times so that we'll have no issues when it comes to IC&I or the other programs that we run. Anstruther needs two people all the time anyway. Haltane, we were able to get away with one person, from time to time because it's a smaller site. But we have budgeted for two people in the sites at all times, which was an addition of 508 hours on the budget. And then the other big cost we have is, and sorry, I haven't got to the BIPs yet, but the other big cost that we have, which I'll get to right now, is the recycling collection, and that is the non-eligible source recycling collection for IC&I, industrial, commercial, and institutional. We always get used to using all these acronyms, and we forget that not everybody understands what the acronyms are. So IC&I is industrial, commercial, and institutional. And as we just recently went through this at the last council meeting, we are including bins in each one of our sites for non-eligible source recycling for our again our ICNI customers within our municipality. And we have budgeted for that accordingly, which is we're estimating roughly $23,000. Now, again, we don't have any experience at this, but this number wasn't grabbed out of the air either. It was ran some different calculations, some different scenarios, using some weights, looking back at other weights on some 8-yard bins compared to a 40-yard bin, and this was the average number that we came up with. I think it's going to be fairly close. The only way it would be increased, of course, if we have more collections on those bins than we anticipate. So again, that's a $23,000 cost in the budget in 2026 that we've never had before. And then if
Jim.
I can move up, sorry.
Hang on, it's okay.
Just, guess I'm supposed to put that on, Gary. Gary, you, at the last meeting, you gave us, the 26 or 23,000, whatever it is, to, put in the bins. And there was a $30,000 revenue from that. Is that showing in here somewhere?
So what I did in the report, just to show you in the last meeting that we get depot recycling revenue from SEMO, which is recorded in the revenue section above. So that's still there. And then this expense is down in the expense section. So yes, that revenue from SEMO is still recorded in the revenue section up in revenue. And it will be recorded. You won't see it directly there. Just bear with me 1 second here. So the depot recycling revenue in 2026 is $54,065. And I showed in the last meeting how that if we provide these IC&I bins, it'll reduce that $54,000 revenue by $23,000. So we're going to come down to, a $31,000 net. That's what we discussed in the last meeting. But yes, that revenue is included in the budget.
Thank you.
Colin?
Yeah, right. The one thought I've had is, do we really need a secondary person for the ICI? Are we able just to really well sign the new system? It just seems like a big addition just for that, labor wise, just for that one operational change.
Yep, Gary, go ahead.
It's 500 hours, and I had this calculated on another page here. But it's not a gigantic change in revenue. You're $12,000 to $15,000 roughly, sorry, in expense for that additional 500 hours. But if there is any cross contamination, then SEMO could come back and claim that we're in breach of our contract, and it could become an issue with our current bins that we have. If we can show them that we have that extra person in the site, then of course that would be a non-issue. So it's the only way, and believe me, I went back and forth with this. The only possible site that we could get away with it, as I mentioned before, is Haltane. And maybe Haltane in the wintertime. Anstruther needs 2 people, hands down. It needed 2 people, whether we had the IC&I or not. And just because of the layout of the site. When you come in, you got the leafing yard right away on the right-hand side and the C&D, and then you come up to the booth. It's not the most efficient layout. So that site you definitely need to, could we decrease it and go down to 1 in Haltane? I'm not saying we couldn't, but it's certainly not recommended, seeing that we just signed this new contract with SEMO. I would rather see how it goes, for the first 6 months or into the summertime, and then adjust the schedule accordingly. If it was a huge amount, then yeah, but and I'm not saying that, $12,000 to $15,000 isn't a large amount. Um, but it would be a small amount if we were to contravene our contract in any way, that's for sure.
Okay.
So I
So
don't
we
know
have
if
one-
I don't know if that answers your question, but that's where we're at.
Okay. So, Lynn, right? Let little Evan go the, oh, yeah.
This is actually separate from the ICNI, and the contract issue, but for some time, I've actually had some concern that we only have a single person in the waste site on their own. There are times where it perhaps can be managed, but if that person were to slip and fall and not be able to call for help, we do have employees that work alone. I'm not saying we never have employees that
Right.
work alone. But given the environment that they work in, I have always had that in the back of my mind that I think if you look around the county, and Gary may be able to speak to this better, but I don't think that there's very many transfer stations that you'll see less than 2 employees at a time.
Okay.
There's
We may
not
be able
one.
to work with that number, but
They just said there's not one, so.
there's not
There's
one
not
yet.
one. Yeah, there's
Okay.
not one. I mean, I think Buckhorn has 5, 6.
Yeah.
I mean, they're bigger,
Yeah.
but they virtually have an employee at every single station.
Okay.
Yeah, and just very briefly, and it may make it easier for everybody, like what else would they be able to do in that time that they're there? And then I wouldn't have an image of like one person standing beside the ICI thing the whole time. Matching people's
Oh.
hands that aren't supposed to be going there. So like, what other advantages does that bring to Haltane having a second person there?
So in the budget you'll see this year in the UT equipment, I included some landscaping equipment as well too. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have that extra staff member do a bunch of the landscaping, litter cleanup, all the stuff that would normally be done by, let's say the Parks and Rec guy cutting the grass or whatever. It's now going to be done by that person there, creating some efficiencies in the other department as well too. So we've created some job duties and tasks because the last thing we want is that person standing around.
Okay. Great, thank you for that. Anything else? Gary, was that the last?
No, there's advertising is next. I'm sorry, Madam Mayor. I was just waiting
Okay.
to see if there's any more comments. So
Yep.
last year, and in the last 2 years, we had a small advertising budget because we received P&E funding. Here I go again with the acronym. So P&E is promotion and education funding, and we received that from the recycling producers, and in our case, the contractors with SEMO. And the P&E funding we were getting was around $350 a month. So we did like last year, I don't know if everybody recalls, we did like a glossy recycling handout. It was a direct mail. We partnered with Selwyn. I think we partnered with Selwyn Truckload. There was 3 of us that went together on it. And, we used advertising budget for that. However, under the new contract, if you recall from our meeting last week, the P&E budgets and all the contracts across Ontario have just been cut drastically. We now get like $50 a month, and that will so most of our advertising now is all done through, social media, electronically, website. We print posters, we have handouts. There's very few times now where we really got to, spend some money on advertising, whether it be a direct mail or whatever. So that being said, they do have a special fund that you can apply to if you have a special project like we did last year. But as it stands, I've just eliminated the advertising budget. We'll do what we normally do, and then if we have something special we need to advertise for, we can always apply to their fund.
Okay. Owen?
Is there not a very real opportunity that we're gonna need to be using advertising funds in January, February to try to explain what's going on to people as they navigate this change?
Well, those funds would just be sort of what we do now electronically and email and direct mail and not direct mail. Newsletter, website, everything that we do electronically with social media. So we don't really include that in the advertising budget. It would be if we did have a direct mail that we wanted to send out. There already has been a direct mailing that has gone out to all the businesses and institution and commercial places. So now it's just a follow up to that. If we do have that, Council McClellan, I would be coming back to council, I guess, at that time, or we would try to include it in the office supply budget if it's not a large amount. And I'm not saying that's not a real possibility. I just hope that we can get around it.
I appreciate your positivity.
Well, I think the one thing is I'm certainly gonna be directing anybody who has any issues
Yeah.
to contact our MPP. Right? They can do the education. Anyway, go ahead, Gary.
When I see 9.7%, I'm trying to do everything I can to,
I hear
keep the
you.
budget realistic. But at the same time, there's no frivolous. And I'm not saying that is. Okay, so what are we on to next? Under threshold building. So under threshold building in 2026, we're recommending going from 4,000 down to $2,500. I guess this could be considered an advertising thing, but we do, because they're permanent, we want to do a bunch of new signage in the sites, especially with the IC&I coming and so on. So that will be included, and then there's just a couple little minor maintenance things we need to do to the kiosk. But other than that, we will have some big fancy new signs.
Okay.
And then on the under threshold equipment budget, and this was what I was referring to before. And again, like I say, I created some processes and some tasks. Already reviewed it to staff if this goes through. And included in this budget is a backpack leaf blower, push mower, trimmer, and a power sweep yard boss. That's one of the power sweeps. So that is we will have nobody standing around if that's the case. So this is a $2,850 budget for 2026. And that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Perfect, okay. Anybody have any overall questions for Gary on this?
Motion to adjourn.
That's it, we're done already. No.
Everybody does have to get that.
No, that's good.
Or especially.
Gary, no, thank you for this. I think that's fine. We've had the questions throughout, so we'll just leave it at that and stick around, see what we do at the end. But that's good. I don't have to receive every presentation or do we? No, I don't have to do that. So actually, Matt's coming up for it, but I'm gonna declare just a 10-minute recess. All right, just so we can break
Thank
it
you
up a
very
little bit.
much. Thank you very
Thanks,
much,
Gary.
Madam Mayor and Council. And again, I apologize. I had to do this virtually.
No, that's okay. Totally understandable. If you weren't sick, it's crappy out there. All right,